Hello everyone, welcome to yet another session of Blue Dragon Actual. So today the topic is a psychological topic or a counseling topic, and this is related to judgment. I think most of us has probably heard in their life this statement: "Don't judge me." And more often, I have seen that this has been used by the fairer gender, females basically. So they tend to use this statement more often than males, and there is a reason for that, of course. So we'll touch upon that reason as well. And I thought that this is an important topic that we should cover because it does impact our actual career and it does impact our corporate life and everything else that the Blue Dragon actual stand for. So when I kind of started the actual YouTube channel, my reason for starting the YouTube channel was kind of lack of clarity in different actual concepts and people having the bookish knowledge and kind of not improving or not going beyond that level. So I thought I will only have videos where there would be it would be focused mostly on clarity of concept, and I'll not touch upon mindset and other things which are mostly kind of psychological and related to counseling, because there are several other channels that are kind of doing that. In fact, all the YouTube channels that are kind of present in, actually they are only talking about exam, how to clear exam, in which order to appear for exam, how to write exam, which question to attempt first, how to score marks, etc., 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 right? So I thought there are already too much of those in YouTube, in the net. There are already too many people giving interviews and saying how difficult or how easy it is to kind of clear the actual exam. So there is already too much, focus on the exam and everything. So why should I dwell on that? Rather, I should cover out my own niche where I would kind of focus on the actual concept and clarity associated with the actual concept. But over time, I realized that conclusion or that judgment that I have was incorrect, because unless you have a sound mind set, you will never have the ability to kind of grasp concept. And probably the reason I kind of moved in that direction was because my mindset was that from the very childhood. In fact, I remember, just to give just to go through a small story of my childhood. When I was kind of in class 6, I got to know about the Newton laws of motion, and the third law was, if to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. And I thought that law is incorrect, and I will prove that law is incorrect. And I read number of books and whatever is kind of available in the school library. And from where I can see, at that point of time, internet was not a thing. So I do not have any access to Google, but I tried to kind of prove Newton wrong. And in the process, I was myself proved wrong, but I learned a lot of other stuff in physics, which later on helped me. The same goes for calculus. I always try to understand what is limit, what is continuity, what is differentiation, how is it different from derivative, etc., etc. Something which is very clear to me. What is something divided by zero, when it is called infinite, when it is called undefined, why, whether these two are same. So I always kind of question this. Same goes for me with the topics in society. I generally believe that only a idiot can smash the status quo, and I am happy to be that idiot, because there are too many status quo in the life and in the world. So I never thought that I will kind of focus more on the mindset, but I think that is something very important for to for you to kind of have the clarity of concept. You need to first bring your mindset. You need to have that ability to question, because these days, especially the situation that we are right now in India, I mean, people are not questioning. People are just following a trend without any logic, and they also defend those trend, and they are not willing to accept their mistake. They're so rigid about it. So I think that's why this video and this concept of "don't judge me" is so important, that we have to kind of go through it in detail. And like any other video, our motto is to go deep into the topic, dive deeper, so that we can understand the nuances of it and see what conclusion we can gather out of it. So moving on, uh, don't judge me. And this is a quotation: "I was born to be awesome, but not perfect." So I think this is one of the quotation that I have heard multiple times, and people kind of, to me, I believe that people kind of use this to hide their weakness. because yeah, obviously I'm no one is born perfect, but you can try to be one, right? That famous line from Three Idiots, that uh, run after excellence and success will follow. So you can try to, so that is the same concept of this YouTube channel, as I mentioned, clarity of concept, right? So can you can stop by clearing your papers and understanding nothing or retaining zero of it, or you can clear your papers at the same time you have knowledge about those topics, and you can go extra mile to understand those topics so that your clarity of concept is clearer, right? So you cannot say that don't judge me, I have just cleared my paper, I am now a fellow, but I don't understand anything, I don't have any knowledge myself, I know I am hollow, but still I have a certificate. So I think you are just kind of hiding your weakness, and that is kind of holding you back, as you can see in this picture. So I don't think this is a correct statement. However, uh, there is a very good example. So today was a match between India and Pakistan, right? And the example in the match, India started bowling. They were kind of bowling in the uh, they're bowling at the on the pitch, and they realize there is no moisture in the wicket, there is no grass, and because of that there is no movement on the ball. So I mean for those who don't understand cricket, and if someone belongs to watching this video from a part of the world which is not in the Indian subcontinent, so in cricket, person balls and a person bats. So there is a wooden pillow, willow, with which a person, kind of baseball, like if you have seen baseball, and the ball can move in direction if the pitch is moist. So usually when the pitch is grassy, it will retain moisture, and then the pitch will crack. And if the ball falls in a particular area when there is a crack, then the ball can move on its own. Also, if the one side of the ball gets eroded, then the ball will tend to move in that direction only, something we call reverse swing. Even if the bowler try to bowl the ball in a different direction, the ball will still move in the direction where there is a rough surface. So these are example of swing and seaming, etc., etc. But when Indian team was kind of bowling today, Indian team realized that the ball is not moving. The ball is just falling and moving in straight direction. So they immediately change their strategy, and they started bowling bouncers. And to help the fact was the pitch was quite fast. So when you are kind of bowling the bouncers, you are pitching the ball midway. But in this case, because the pitch was fast, and when you are pitching the ball midway, the ball would be slower. But in this case, because the pitch was fast, the bouncer was kind of coming very quickly. So one of the weakness of bouncer is that it is a slow. It will be slower than say full pitched delivery. But on a fast pitch, that weakness is kind of removed, and the Indian team got dividends of that. Many people got out. In fact, Pakistan's main player was Babar Azam, who's also the captain. He also got out to a bouncer, and there are a couple of other people who got out to bouncer, right? And the Pakistan team was not even able to play the full 20 overs, and bouncer played a role in that. So it was based on their experience and based on the knowledge they have. They took a judgment call that our initial plan of moving the ball or seam or swing is not working. So even let even our swing bowler bowl the bouncer, so that would be a surprise for the other person, right? So here we see that judgment comes from experience, right? And obviously judgment would be taken by a person who is at a position of power. So then there is a problem with and where this statistics and where this mathematics come into judgment, because actually is everywhere, like mathematics, statistics, psychology is everywhere. Every decision that you take, even when you are standing up, when you are moving, when you are talking to someone, indirectly you are using psychology, indirectly you're using mathematics, statistics, you just don't know about that. So what is the difference between maybe a judgment and conclusion? Because these two words are kind of used interchangeably, although they are not. So I think conclusion is more related to what we have studied in CT5 or whatever that paper, maybe CM1. So that is hypothesis testing. So hypothesis testing is related to kind of determining the value of a parameter, and whether the value of the parameter, whether that parameter is following a particular distribution, and you can say with a certain degree of confidence based on the sample that you have, that it is kind of the value of the parameter is this, with that degree of confidence. So with 99.9% confidence, you can say that this would be correct. However, when you are kind of drawing a conclusion, there is a there is a chance that you can be incorrect. That is where there this type 1 error and type 2 error comes into picture. So so two things we can kind of conclude about conclusion is there is some mathematics that is involved, there is some statistics that is involved, right? And there is a chance that you can be wrong. So a figure or assumption is kind of backed by numbers, and even if it is backed by numbers, there's still a chance that you are wrong, right? You have to give yourself the option to be wrong, because even with 99.99% confidence interval, there is still 0.01, or still there is 1% chance or 0.01% chance that you are wrong, right? So that is conclusion. Whereas in judgment, you are basing your basing your conclusion, basing your inference on previous experience, and you are because you are in a position of power, you are saying that I cannot be wrong. I'm this is correct, and you are kind of rigid over it. That this is correct. I know this is true, and only few people are capable of taking the judgment. That's why you'll see in court, people become judge after a lot of experience. After they are initially they are lawyers, and then after years of experience, they would be judged. No one can just become a judge just by from the there is no concept of fresher judge, right? You have to stay in the system for a number of time after you need to qualify before you need to qualify as a judge. So I mean that's the kind of model, or that's the kind of summary that we can kind of draw from this discussion till now. That judgment is kind of rigid. Judgment is both are kind of based on the past data, but the judgment is rigid. Judgment do not give you the opportunity to be wrong, because it is taken by, because it is supposed to be taken by people who have a lot of experience, who are knowledgeable, who are in a position of power. But conclusion can be taken by anyone, and that should be backed by numbers, figures, probability, statistics, distribution. And even then, when you are quite confident that this conclusion is correct, there is still a chance, there is maybe a very minor chance that you can get it wrong. So as I mentioned here, judgment, right? The ability to form opinions or to make sensible decisions. So sensible decision can only be taken by a person who is in a position of power, who has that experience, right? You and I probably may not have that ability to take the judgment. In this case, Indian team, based on the team management they have Rohit Sharma, they have Virat Kohli, they have KL Rahul, they have Rahul Dravid, Saurabh Ganguly, etc. They have that team and all the supporting staff. They have the ability to kind of take the judgment, and usually judgment is kind of taken by multiple people, because there is a chance that you can go wrong, but judgment by its very nature is rigid, right? So once we are passing on a judgment, you cannot be wrong. You are will be penalized for being wrong, right? Whereas in conclusion, you say that I am I mean this much sure that I am correct, but I can be wrong, right? But judgment don't gives you that option. You cannot be wrong. Similarly, the other thing that judgment says is, what is your an opinion formed from after carefully considering the information you have, which is kind of related to the past data and past information. So obviously, if Indian team has taken the decision of bowling bouncers from seaming or kind of swinging the ball, then that means that they have done that in the past, or they have analyzed the past and thought that this is the best possible solution. So once again, so now we can conclude, like based on whatever we have discussed. So Indian team has kind of taken a judgment, right? It was not a conclusion. The Indian team cannot say I am 99.99% sure that this will work, but there is 0.01% chance that this will not work. That will demoralize the entire team, and the captain or the coach cannot say that, right? They have to say that now I'm sure that this is going to work. That's how it has been in the past, and this is going to work, right? Then there was a chance that that might not have worked, right? Right, and then there might be a chance that Babar Azam might have adjusted to that, and Pakistani players would have adjusted to that, and there was no wicket, and they would be hitting sixes over that. But then that we have to call that judgment wrong in that case. So the captain and the team management was kind of uh, open to that criticism, that they when they are taking the judgment, and if it is wrong, then it is wrong. Then they would be criticized. However, whether is but in a conclusion, they would be given that that uh, uh, kind of that kind of flexibility that they can be wrong. right? So that the picture that I tried to paint till now is that judgment is kind of rigid and the conclusion is more flexible. Both are kind of dependent on the past data, but probably conclusion is more data driven and judgment is more image and past experience driven. But conclusion is more statistics and more mathematical way of kind of looking at the past data and coming to an inference. Another example of judgment, one of the very famous example that we see in Bollywood these days is Karan Johar being a promoter of nepotism, and I mean that can be correct, right? He has only worked with people who are product of that nepotism. But he have also launched directors who do not have any film background, but mostly you can say that based on the work that he had done, most of the peoples are kind of product of that nepotism, and there is no two way about that, right? So either you are correct or either you are incorrect. That's how it is, that's how it is in judgment, right? You cannot be like, there is no gray area in judgment. Similarly, another trend that we have seen in the recent past, that boycott everything, right? If someone has kind of hurt someone's sentiment, people are also not the people probably don't even know which sentiment they are talking about, but then also because that is the trend and that is someone has passed the judgment that that is wrong, and because that is probably passed by someone who is at a position of power, right, or position of authority, and that has become a trend, and everyone is kind of following the trend without completely understanding the logic of that. And we have recently seen that movies not doing well in Bollywood or box office because of n number of reasons, right? Because all these are judgment, right? These are not backed by statistics, or not backed by mathematics, not backed by errors, and these people do not even give you the option, or do not even give themselves the option to be wrong. They just boycott it, and for no reason, or maybe for some error done in 1920s, people are boycotting you or penalizing you. I mean, that doesn't make any sense, right? So judgment is always much more illogical as compared to a conclusion. Moving on. So an example of conclusion. Now, India and Pakistan have met 200 times in international cricket, right? Coming back to our cricket example, of which the last was played in kind of T20 World Cup, out of which Pakistan has a head-to-head count of 87 wins, right? While India has only won 71 matches and drawn 38, right? So Pakistan is still doing much better. 87 versus 71, Pakistan is still ahead of India. However, if you kind of analyze the India-Pakistan rivalry after 2000, India and Pakistan have played 27 times in ODIs, especially in ODIs, right? And out of which India has won 16 of them. That is a huge margin, right? Out of 27, 16 has been won by India. So you can say, like, from this, you can draw a conclusion that probably in recent times, India is a better team. Now, here this word probably is very important, because you are giving a percentage, you are assigning a probability, right? You are saying that this is my assumption that P is probably greater than 0.5. That probability of India winning versus Pakistan would be much higher, would maybe be higher than 0.5 based on the recent form, right? However, the entire picture is different when you kind of compare head to head from the say since the start of the India Pakistan cricket relationship. Pakistan has done better, right? So one can also use that statistics to say that Pakistan is a better team. But in the recent times, India has done much better as compared to Pakistan, and that's why the probability is higher that India will win today's match. So that is an example of conclusion. So there is a probability, there is a chance of an error, and those who are kind of drawing the conclusion, they give themselves the opportunity to be wrong. But those who are kind of drawing the judgment, they are kind of illogical. They're following someone who is powerful, and they are kind of echoing that person's opinion without probably understanding the logic or the experience or the data behind them. And since judgment is supposed to be made by a person who is kind of at a position of power, who is supposed to be eligible to make that decision or make that call. If that person is kind of ineligible, or that person is not good enough, then the entire herd which is following that person would go for a toss, right? They would be incorrect. So conclusion versus judgment. There is a lot of discussion about Virat Kohli losing form since 2019. He has not scored a century. But if you see the statistics that Virat Kohli holds is kind of outstanding. So Virat Kohli is the fastest to reach the 10,000 ODI runs. He has 70 international 100, which is done much more faster than Sachin Tendulkar. Not to compare both these two legends, because they have played in different generation, they have played different bowlers, and they have played under different cricket rules. But still, no one can take that achievement from Virat Kohli, that he is playing for 10 years, and he has reached 10,000 runs much faster than probably Sachin Tendulkar, or even the person who has or the person who is kind of second, which is Rahul Dravid, who has taken 10 years and 317 days, almost 11 years, right? So Virat Kohli has done it much faster. And also the debate that in recent times Virat Kohli's form is not that good. So if you see the scores that Virat Kohli had scored into 2021, it's 11, 72, 0, 62, 27, 73, 77, lot of 70s, right? Lot of more than 30 score, lot of 60s, lot of 50s, lot of 40s. So it's not that he's not playing that bad, right? It's just that probably he has not maintained the standard that he has set for themselves. Now here I will just try to kind of say that I am not a fan of Virat Kohli, right? Or I am not a fan of Karan Johar, or not a fan of Amir Khan, etc., etc. I genuinely like, if I like something, then I like it. So I think I like that movie Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, made by Karan Johar. But other than that, I think all his movies are kind of like beyond me. It's below my intelligence level, to be very specific. Similarly, I don't like Virat Kohli's aggression and the attitude that he displays in the field, and he abuses. I am completely against abuses. Something which is kind of Delhi specific and North India specific. So I am completely against that. And I don't use to and those abuses, etc., etc. And I don't like that. But uh, I believe that he is, as a cricketer, Virat Kohli has a lot to offer for the country, and his passion is genuine. Although I don't kind of, I will never be like Virat Kohli, but I can resonate with his passion and his passion to play cricket. That is something that I also feel for myself, in terms of actuary, or maybe in terms of trading or coding. I am also equally passionate, like Virat Kohli. So if you go by judgment, Virat Kohli has a poor form, because someone powerful has said that Virat Kohli has poor form, and that's the judgment. But if you go by statistics, Virat Kohli's form is not that poor. There are multiple people who are probably criticizing Virat Kohli, who do not have this scorecard, and who do not have the record that Virat Kohli has. So by statistics, Virat Kohli is in much better shape than in many other people. So I think here the difference between conclusion and judgment is quite clear. We'll consider another example, a very popular face, and someone who has done a lot more after his death than his than the time when he was alive. So there is kind of trend that justice for SSR, and I frankly don't understand what justice they are talking about. And it's also a controversial topic, but I think he was an average or below average actor. There are a couple of movies that he acted in, as for example, MS Dhoni. I felt that is a great movie, and he has acted very well. The message kind of displayed in that movie was great. I personally like Kai Poche. I think it's Sushant Singh Rajput best work, which was also his first movie. I think that is his best work. But there are a few other movie that he has made, like this Shuddh Desi Romance and Detective Bhumke's Bakshi. These are kind of and I don't like those movies, and those are very poor. So if you see the verdict, if you see the verdict here, so mostly you will see that there are only three kind of hit or semi-hit, or three or four. Rest are all flop or average, right? So I don't understand why people jump after him and after his death. And where were those people when he was alive? Why those people were kind of not seeing his work, and they are not, why they were kind of not going to the theaters? It's just because someone powerful has kind of projected that for his or her own benefit. and people has followed the trend. So someone has made a judgment, and people who are illogical, who do not have their own, ability, or who are weak, like I mentioned, who are kind of dragged by their own beliefs, they have followed someone else's judgment, and they have not gone by the conclusion. They have not drawn a statistical analysis or mathematical analysis to kind of draw the conclusion, and that's where the difference between conclusion and judgment lies, right? So one thing that we know is that we are judged every second of our life, right? Although we have established that judgment is something which is kind of in the negative zone, and conclusion is something which is in kind of in the positive zone, but we are judged every second of our life. When we are born, we say how cute the baby is, right? And etc. etc. And suppose a baby is born with, maybe say, with one arm less, or one eye less, or some defect, and then we'll also say that maybe there is some problem, or it might be because of a late pregnancy, etc. etc. There are so many things, right? From the time we are born, we are being judged. Then we write exam where someone else judges our paper, and as per that person who is in a position of power, authority, who has some experience, believes if we should get this mark, then we get that mark, right? So we are also judged there, and if we are doing well, we never say don't judge me, right? Then we say, yeah, judge me, because exam is completely a judgment process, right? There is no statistics backing it, there is no mathematics backing it, there is no probability distribution, there is no type 1, type 2 error there. It's completely judgment, and sometimes it is judgment of only one person, right? It can be highly wrong, and but still, there we don't say that don't judge me, right? Because that's how the social stigma is. That's why I mentioned that questioning is so important. You see a tradition, and if you don't question the tradition, you'll that tradition might become useless with time, but you will still follow the tradition, right? Another example of being judged every time is maybe marriage. Whether the bride is looking good, whether the groom is earning money. Those are the two things that people kind of look at, right? And especially if you are from north of India, how many people you have invited? What are the foods? How was the lighting? How was the lighting? How was the what not AC, etc. etc. We are just every second. Like marriage is where everyone is kind of judging everything, starting from the servant to the bride and groom. Everyone is judging everyone else. Next thing, we are continuously judged in our job. In fact, that is our job. Like as a senior manager, I have to judge my employees and give them rating. I also have to take decisions for, say, giving an award, or who can handle a work, right? So I get paid for that. So judgment is there as well, and sometimes that judgment is taken only by me, and that has to be kind of backed by experience, but on statistics, etc. But sometimes we have to kind of take decisions based on our intuition, right? So not every time it can be backed by statistics. So in job, we are judging every time. Even we are judged, death, like maybe how that person have died, how that person has lived his life, etc. And even after your death, when you are in heaven, hopefully you have reached heaven, if such a place exists, then even then you would be judged, right? Because someone with a, I don't know, in Hindu mythology, there is a Yamraj who would be kind of waiting to judge you, right? So even after your death, you'll be judged, and people say, don't judge me. So I don't understand the logic behind that. Why are you saying you don't judge me when you are being judged every time? Right? Probably you are too blind or too immature or lack the IQ to see that. But you are judged every time. Although it might not be a great thing to do, it might be a negative thing. It might not be the most efficient thing in life. But you are judged every second of your life. So why complain? Another thing I would like to kind of mention and end this video with, like, don't say that I don't judge me. I think you should welcome judgment, right? And sometimes judgment is also good. Sometimes if you are being able to kind of accept someone else's judgment, that shows that you are not weak, that you are able to accept responsibilities, you are able to accept feedback, and that will help you grow, right? Sometimes judgment gives you validation. I remember when I was not doing that well in studies, someone told me that I believe that you'll be doing great in your life, and that validation, or that that encouragement helped me. And that, because that was not based on any statistics. Before that, my performance was very poor. So that person could not have said that based on the statistics, or probability or distribution, etc., etc. That person just said that based on some intuition, some judgment, something, right? And that validation helped us. And we have also seen those validations, people seeking validation in and the probably the difference between me and many other persons is I was not seeking that validation. I was working hard kind of to get to that level. But these days people even seek validation. I have scored this much mark in this much paper, in this paper, and I have I have spent years and days and months and read that stack of books to get that CA degree. People do that all the time. People is kind of right now, even after the COVID, people are kind of facing for validation, right? So I think judgment is, sometimes judgment is good, sometimes judgment is bad. However, we can draw one conclusion, or one important thing from that conclusion part is, we must give ourselves the chance to be wrong. We must question things which are traditional, because the tradition might have been made in 1920s and this is 2020, or to more than beyond 2020, and that tradition might not be relevant today. And that's why it might not be relevant. So maybe since we have initially since I have initially told that don't judge me, this is a comment that is kind of mostly used by females, and also obviously also by males, but mostly by females. The reason being our society being so patriarchal that they're always being judged, how they are looking, what dress they are wearing, whether they can leave by this time, whether they are coming back by that time. I mean, it's so tough, right? It's so tough for them. And that's why I think they grew fed up of this judgment, and they say don't judge me, right? Which as a boy, as a man, I can say that I am not being judged that much as compared to say my sister would be, right? So and that is a hard fact that we have to kind of accept, right? Society is kind of biased that way. So I think we are just every second of our life. We should not, and and rather it is immature of us to say kind of don't judge me. We are judged, and it's if you are alive, we will be judged, right? So it's kind of foolish to say that don't judge me. We should accept judgment, and we should be mature enough to take the positive part of the judgment, right? And use it to kind of be more responsible, to show that I am not weak, to accept feedback, to grow in life. And yeah, and can do wonderful things after that, right? When we can accept that we can go wrong, when we have that 99.99% confidence, but 0.01% we also kind of stress upon that 0.01% that we can be wrong as well, right? So that is where the journey from better to best starts. Otherwise, we'll always be kind of stay between good and better. We'll never come from better to best. And finally, I'd like to end this with a that Hindi song that कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना. So, and at the end of the day, if you believe in yourself, then someone else's judgment would not make you bad, or would not make you the world would not see you in a different way for long term. Maybe if someone from a position of power is saying something about you, then that might impact your life for a short term. But in the long run, if you are the person that you say you are, you will overcome that, because you yourself would become powerful, right? Then your judgment will matter, and there will be a time when your judgment will matter more than someone else's judgment, right? So please welcome judgment. Don't say don't judge me. That childish, that foolish, that immature. And but take the point. Probably it's better to conclude than to judge. Probably it's better to reach a conclusion than to judge. And let's leave the judging to the legal judges and others who are in the position of, who are in that position to kind of judge others. Let us just draw conclusion, and let's just give ourselves a chance to be wrong. So with this, I'd like to end this video. If you like this kind of video, please leave a comment. Please like, share, and subscribe. Or if you don't like this video also, please leave a comment in the YouTube section or comment section of YouTube. And yeah, see you in future videos. Thanks for watching. And yeah, all the best.